The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station, JVC Broadcasting Management, or its sponsors.
Welcome to the Senior Show with Neil and Tim, two wild and aging guys.
Neil, come on, we're getting better and better each week.
I know. Hey, practice makes perfect, right?
Hey, Tim Kennedy here, your certified reverse mortgage professional, here with Neil Himmelstein, and we are the Senior Show, helping navigate with experience and peace of mind. And the key word in that thing, which I missed, was change, Neil. Change. And give you navigate and peace of mind. Every day,
change. You know, every day, listen, we got wars going on, we got oil prices going up, and it just brought to mind, I read an article this week about Social Security, and basically what it says is the way Social Security is currently structured, 7 years from now, we're going to run out of money for Social Security. And why is that? Well, what happens is when you're younger, you're putting money into this system, Social Security, for when you eventually retire, hopefully, and it's meant for a supplemental benefit.
Supplemental.
Right. It's not that you're retired, but it's meant for supplemental income. So a lot of people talk, when do I take Social Security? When do I not? But besides that, so there's a balance built up from all the money that we contribute. The problem is, there's two problems. One is we're living much longer, right? So Social Security was never designed for that.
It was never designed to be the all-in when you retire. So two things are happening. Number one, it was supposed to be a supplemental income to get you by a little bit. Right. And the second part is when they originally initiated or created this Social Security, life expectancy back then was a couple of months.
Well, it was 2 to 3 years. They figured you go on Social Security, you turn 65, maybe you make it to 70.
Maybe.
Okay. But you're contributing 30 years up there, so they built up a surplus. Now there's 2 to 1 people that are older and collecting than there are putting money in.
And going well into the 80s and 90s.
Right. And then you don't have as many young people. Our birth rate's way down. We don't have immigrants putting money in. So we don't have enough money coming in. And now with AI, there's less and less jobs of money going in. So what happens when the reserves run out, which is in 7 years? There's two things that could happen. One is it could completely go bankrupt and you could lose some benefits, maybe not get as much money. Or two, they have to tax the younger people more. Or three things could happen. We borrow money from somewhere else and go further into debt.
We steal from Paul to pay Peter.
Right, which is done all the time. But we're in so much debt right now, and growing debt, and I don't see a great future for it unless they have to raise taxes or do something to accommodate that. Which brings me to my next point, Tim.
And what is that, Neil?
So, if that's the income source that we were relying on for retirement, maybe one of the major ones, aside from 401ks and whatever savings we built up, where do we get the income to support our retirement? Now, I thought about this too. Even though if you wait, see all these, we've been to a lot of Social Security seminars together, right?
Yeah.
When do I take my Social Security, you ask me? Should I take it at 62? Should I take it at 70? Should I, do I delay? Listen, that's different for every person. I know you would ask me that, right?
Yeah, we had that conversation earlier, right?
Yeah,
sure. Well, my brother Joe and I have this conversation all the time about, do you take it out immediately at 62? Do you wait to retirement age of 67? Or, do you go for broke and wait till age 70?
Right.
And I'm in the belief, right? But now you have me a little concerned here that we're going to run out of money. But, I personally, I feel like I'm in good health.
Right.
I'm playing the long game, right?
Right.
I want to live until my 90s, right?
Right.
And the idea is if I can maximize Social Security and live that long, well, then my plan works. If I get hit by a bus at 75, well, then it didn't work.
Well, it still works. You still have a benefit built up for your spouse. But at the end of the day, the longer you wait to take it out, it does increase by 8% a year right now. And then sometimes they'll put an inflation factor in there.
Well, you throw the COLA in there, right? Cost of living, yep.
And the reason it increases every year is because Social Security is really an annuity payment. And the older you are when you create an annuity payment, the more your income is. Did you know that?
Yes, sir.
So if you're 60 or 70 or 80, the older you are, if you put in $100,000 into an annuity, because this is another source of income, the more money you're going to get out, because it's based on how many years they're going to pay out. So what an insurance company does, and Social Security, and a pension, and lottery winners, is they say, okay, by average, you're going to live X number of years, so I'm going to make X number of payments before you die. So what they do is, on an annuity, a little different, is they only tax you on a very small portion. The older you are, the less tax, because the taxation on the income is based upon principal and growth. So what they do is they take out that interest and they average it out over 20, 30 years, however long your life expectancy is. The insurance companies and the government have these tables, and they only tax you on that portion. So you're 80 years old, you might be able to get a 15% return. It's not a real return. It's 14% of it is maybe your principal. So you're only taxed on 1% at whatever rate you are. So annuities is a great way, in addition to Social Security, for that income to help you provide your benefits. Now, Social Security is not enough.
Obviously not enough.
Right. And even if it grows at 8%, I can tell you, my property taxes are up $2,000. Okay, my insurance for my house is up. My cost of oil, forget it. I don't even want to have that discussion. It's through the roof right now, which drives up all my food prices and everything else.
Everything is expensive and nothing is coming down.
Right.
So, and then when you retire and now you're on a fixed income, where does the difference come from?
Right.
You know, and there's other ways to maximize that growth and figure out that retirement income plan. Right?
Right.
You know, when my mom and dad, you know, growing up and they worked, my dad was construction, my mom worked for New York State, you know, we never really had these conversations about retirement because my dad had a pension, my mom had a pension, they both had Social Security.
Right.
You know, there wasn't all this confusion and flux when it came to their retirement. You know?
Right. Because now, they didn't live till 90.
Well, that and, well, yeah.
They ended up living that long, but maybe... Yeah. Yeah.
Well, they didn't. They lived till 70, but
right.
But it was never this. It never really. When we sat at the dinner table and we had these conversations, it never seemed as confusing as it is today.
Right. Because we're living longer, our money has to last longer. It has to have some sort of growth mechanism, and or our assets enough. And one of the assets, when your parents were growing up, one of the biggest assets they had was their house.
Sure.
And the game was pay off your house. You're going to get Social Security and pension. The house is paid for, and live a happy life.
Right. Remember, burn the note. Was it burn the note parties? When they paid off the mortgage, they would have these parties where they burned the note, and then they had a free and clear home.
Right.
And you know, Neil, you're talking about annuities, and you're talking about life expectancy. I have these conversations every day with seniors, homeowners, and actually now tying in their homes as part of their retirement income plan.
Wow.
You know, accessing the equity in their homes.
So that's another asset that
it's ignored and untouched.
Your parents wouldn't have thought about it because that was not the...
back then it was totally taboo. You know, now it's a totally different product.
Right. So now it's a different mindset that we all have to be thinking about, because inside your house... I like to look at the walls, and maybe they're painted, maybe they're not painted, but there's dollar bills hanging in them walls.
And it's an illiquid asset.
What? There's dollar bills hanging in them walls. I've been putting money into that thing forever.
And the problem, Neil, is you can't take the shingle off the side of your house and go pay the oil bill.
No. So, but you have a way of doing that.
Yes, sir.
And that's the key. So that's another asset. This is why Tim and I work together so often. It's like, how do we help you in your current situation? And truthfully, the biggest problem I see in today's planning is, when people plan? After their house is burning down, or they're going to a nursing home.
When it's a little too late.
And they go, okay, what do I do? Right? That's the default. So.
Yes, sir. So, Neil, I know you know my name. My name is Tim Kennedy. I am a certified reverse mortgage professional. I'm the co-host with Neil on the Senior Show. If you want to reach me, if you have any questions or concerns of what I just discussed, give me a call at 516-729-6040, or you can reach me at timtalksreverse.com. Neil?
And I'm Neil Himmelstein, host of the Main Street Code for Financial Success and owner of Main Street Planning Group. I am your certified insurance specialist.
Whoa, hello.
How do you
Hey, we'll be right back.
All right. Welcome back to the Senior Show
with two wild and aging guys.
This is Tim and Neil, and we're here to talk to you about senior issues. And listen, we like to have fun too, right?
Yeah, and discuss change. Hey, Neil, helping navigate change with experience and peace of mind. That's our motive. That's the whole reason why we created this show, is because change goes on every day of the week, right?
Every minute.
Just to give you an idea of my roller coaster life this week, I'm blessed that it didn't affect me directly, but this week I'm going to two funeral services. One for a 93-year-old that had a beautiful life, beautiful children, beautiful grandchildren, and it was a celebration of life, right?
Right.
And on the flip side, now I'm going to another service for a friend of mine who's 54 years old. It's devastating. The family is just wrecked, right?
Right.
But these are all things that change people's lives in a heartbeat.
It's you just don't know from. I hate to say it, day to day. It's minute to minute. I mean, I have a friend who stepped off a step. 54 years old. She stepped the same age. 54. She stepped off a step, and she broke her ankle, and she went to the hospital, and they broke it worse. She's been limping around for years. There is one saving grace, though. They put some placenta in her ankle, and guess what, Tim?
I'm afraid to ask.
She's now 100 placenta.
We got to work on your dad jokes, I think.
I think so.
No, but seriously, Neil, on the previous episode, we were talking about Social Security.
Yes.
And I think the point that we're trying to get out there is there are various ways that Social Security can benefit you and your spouse and a divorced spouse, right? There's all these things that not too many people know about. But my advice to everybody out there that's listening is this Sunday, on Easter Sunday, do not take advice from Uncle Louie on how to file for Social Security and when to file for Social Security. My recommendation would be, right, Neil, is to reach out to us.
Right.
Because we have, we deal with the professionals every day, and we're around them all day long. Registered Social Security advisors, attorneys, elder law attorneys, because each situation, each scenario is different for each individual.
Everybody is unique. Everybody needs a unique plan. And I like to say, everybody needs a team of professionals, because not one person knows everything about everything. And I all the time I say this, you need a team. If you don't have one, we'll help you put one together.
Sure.
Maybe you have an attorney. Maybe you have an accountant.
Maybe you have a team and you don't like them.
But you want to make sure that everybody on your team is playing the same game. And they're working for you, not for their own...
Right, for their own benefit. Sure,
right.
Sure. So as a certified reverse mortgage professional, I have to take a ethics course and and sign off on that. I must do what's right for the client.
Always.
Not necessarily what's right for me and my pocket.
And same here. Not only do we have ethics tests, we have in my profession, we have to take anti-money laundering every year.
All that stuff, you
want to make sure you're working with people who know what they're doing. And if you want second opinions, that's great. We welcome them. But if you have an attorney, you really like him and you think he's wonderful, let us talk to that attorney. Let us talk to your accountant. Let's make sure. I like to tell, whenever I do a plan with somebody, I like to say, hey, if you don't mind, let me call your accountant. Let me make sure this fits in your plan. Now, if all of a sudden you call the accountant, he says, well, I got a guy who does that and he runs somewhere else. He's not your guy, okay? You got to trust the people you work with, that they're not steering you in directions that benefit them and not you.
That's right.
I think you said the right thing.
But the team concept is huge, because you just can't do a standalone product or resource, because you don't know how it's going to affect other scenarios, right? Especially somebody that's trying to, we had Larry and Ron on, and they discussed a lot about the irrevocable trust and Medicaid protection.
Right.
Well, that's a great plan, but if you're putting money into your checking and savings account, you just blew up the whole plan. That's why you need to talk to multiple people and make sure you're doing everything right.
And plans change, not because, even if your life goes on a straight arrow, which nobody's does, and you think, okay, my plan is set, it's never set because of change. So the laws change. We had major changes.
Circumstances change.
Elder law change. It's a 5-year look back now. You know what that 5-year look back? I want to talk about that.
Well, let's talk about look back. They've been threatening now since prior to COVID for home care look back. Right now there is not a look back for home care, right?
Right.
But they are looking to do a 30-month look back. They've been threatening that since prior to COVID. They put it on hold since COVID, and now we haven't heard anything about it since.
Well, I don't know how they can enact that, but this 5-year look back thing. I was talking to somebody. Actually, it was Larry. It's an attorney, and for his own parent, and he goes, "You got to write down. They put you through the ringer to get on Medicaid. Now, Medicaid is, okay, I've exhausted all my funds. Now I'm poor. Now I'm going to rely on the government to pay for my nursing home. Okay? Everybody think, oh, yeah, it's a great thing. Oh, yeah, the government's going to take care of me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You go through that 5-year look back. They go through all your checking account, and they want to look at where every check and every bill was spent. They want to
every cent.
They want to see where you have spent your money the last 5 years. Now, if you have an elder parent, or maybe you're getting older, or maybe you're not mentally as swift as you once were, let's face it.
Neil, I feel like that way now. What are you talking about?
We lose our swiftness. And you go back 5 years. You're going to remember every check you wrote and every little thing you did, and who took money, and you wrote a $10,000 check to this person. Who's that? Oh, that's my daughter. She needed it for. Okay, well, that's part of your look back. So we may or may not discount that money because you're trying to hide money from us. Right. Wow, scary. You got to do the planning 5 years before you have a situation.
That's right. Yeah.
Not, okay, oh my God, I fell down the stairs and I'm in trouble.
Mom, Dad's got to go through
my hip.
Yeah.
And woo, next thing you know, it's your assets are gone. I talk a lot about long-term care. Long-term care policies, many of them. We've had a big problem in that industry because of us living longer. When they came out with long-term care, they didn't anticipate that people would be on claim. The average was 2 to 3 years.
Exactly. Sure.
Now it's like 5 years or 7 years, or until you run out of money. But they only figured out like the maximum you could get at one point was like 200 or 300 hours a day. It's 500 hours a day. Okay, in Long Island, it's easily 500 hours a day. So if you have a plan that's paying 300 hours a day, you got to come up with 200 hours a day. Now, that doesn't sound like that much, but 200 hours a day
after 30 days
times 365 days is 72,000, right? 73,000 hours every year. Now, doesn't sound like a lot. It is a lot, okay? And then where does that come from? That comes from your savings. Now, if all your savings are in a 401k or a pension or this and that, what happens to that return when you start taking all that money out just to take your care? And by the way, pay taxes on it. So you get a net amount, which is much smaller than you need.
And possibly put you into a higher tax bracket.
Oh, it's like a quadruple whammy.
Yeah,
it's
whack.
It's it's a tax time bomb.
But Neil, that's why I keep talking about and why I have these conversations, 6, 7, 8 times a day about accessing the equity in the home, because that money's tax free. Right. So you have somebody that either has a long-term care policy or maybe doesn't qualify for long-term care. Well, why not access the equity in the house, create that line of credit, and use that 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now to cover their long-term care concerns.
And what's nice is I love the line of credit as opposed to taking the money now, because I may need it later.
Right.
And that's a great safeguard.
Hey, Nia, we're running out of time, but maybe next week we can talk a little bit more about the line of credit and the guaranteed growth rate to the line of credit, which is the best kept secret out there.
It is.
Hey, Tim Kennedy here, your certified reverse mortgage professional. You can reach me at 516-729-6040, or you can reach me at timtalksreverse.com.
And this is Neil Himmelstein, co-host and host of the Main Street Code for Financial Success, owner of Main Street Planning Group, which is a insurance specialty wholesale operation. And we're so happy to have you. Have a great holiday. Have a good Passover. Have a wonderful Easter. And enjoy yourself. Thank you.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station, JVC Broadcasting Management, or its sponsors.